God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. God does not use the equipped, he equips the used. So all God needs to use you is to call you. Just avail yourself. Then he begins to equip you. There are things you don't yet have for ministry. Don't bother about them. Just say yes to the Lord. Yield yourself to the Lord. And then he will begin to furnish you. He will begin to use you. There are things you will learn on the journey. If you want to wait until you get all the ability, you will never start. You will never obey God. Just yield to God. Some of you are threatened by your shortcomings, your weaknesses. Some of you is your past. Oh, you have murdered before. Like Moses, he killed somebody in Egypt and he felt like, God, this thing is a barrier. I hope you know that thing he did in Egypt kept him away from his ministry. When he saw an Israelite, an Egyptian bullying and molesting an Israelite, he was angry. That anger in him was the passion and the fire and burden of his calling. It was the deliverer in him that was quaking. He ran and then slew the Egyptian. The thing is that he had not been trained. So he didn't know how to express his calling. He didn't know what to do to solve the problem. So he let that passion express itself as murder. But God saw this thing this guy did. It's not necessarily that he wanted to kill this guy. He was burdened by this problem. He wants to solve this problem. This is slavery, oppression. How can you be oppressing people like that? And then the thing manifested as murder. It was at that point God said, you need mentorship. And he took the guy away from Egypt and sent him to Jethro, where he was mentored for 40 years or so. God had worked on patience. God had worked on character. God had worked on some other things that he needed to put in place in Moses. God now said it's time to send you back to the same Pharaoh. But of course, that's history of murder. That history, maybe your own is abortion. That history of you had babies out of wedlock. That history of maybe I was supposed to marry that guy, but he put me the family way. I'm a single mother. Or I'm a single father. How do I want to go and talk to people? Listen, there are things God allows in your life to use it as your ministry to people. Don't let your past mistakes, don't let your weaknesses stop you from being used. Everyone God called had a problem. When he called David, David had a problem. He had issues, yet he called him. Samson had a problem, yet he called him. Maybe there's only one person in the Bible who didn't have any issue. It was Jesus. But the rest of the people God ever used had their weaknesses and inabilities. But God will always perfect you in the course of your journey in ministry.